This is West Virginia Tim introducing a new channel on YouTube called Gadgetcaches. I'm really doing this for two purposes. One is, I think these videos will be interesting for all cachers because I'm going to show you some very unique caches. They're all mine, and so there's going to be some spoilers involved. So if you live in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, you won't want to watch this channel. The second purpose is I really want to show some cache builders, give them some hints of how I build a gadget cache. I've been communicating with cachers literally all over the world for the last year. And this is going to be a way for me to be able to show some of my gadget caches and how they're built. So I'm going to give some tips on how I build my gadget caches. Now, what do I call a gadget cache? I think I call a gadget cache a geocache that you have to do something to be able to find the log. Many times the cache is easy to spot. Sometimes you can see them from 100 yards away. But after you get there, trying to figure out how to find the log, now that's a different matter. And more on that later. The great thing about geocaching is that there's all kinds of different ways to play the game. And there's a lot of different ways to hide caches. I'll never forget, you never forget your first cache hide. My first cache hide, of course, was an ammo can. And it's something that we all use. There's, of course, Tupperware. Those make great caches. But then I discovered micros. There's all different sorts of micro containers. Some of them you actually, a lot of different vendors. You can buy them from geocaching.com. They're different sizes. They're made differently. Some of them are plastic. Some of them are metal. We have the Matchbox containers, waterproof Matchbox containers. You can make your own small caches. There's just a whole lot of different ways to use micros. I don't hide a lot of micros, but I use the micros to attach to larger hosts. Let's talk about that. I found that taking a micro, I could attach it to a larger host, and it made the find so much more interesting. So instead of finding this, I took a dollar store toy with a simple use of only a drill and some glue, drilled a hole, placed the micro container, glued it. Now you have a cache that now is not a micro, but it's really considered an other, because the cache might be small, but the actual physical geocache is what I consider an other, or a small cache. And it made the hide so much more interesting. So when kids and families are looking for caches and they find some of my micros that are attached to the host, it really made for a fun cache. Now you can also, these are all fairly easy to find, but you can also use your micro just like I attached this micro to the brick. And now it makes for an interesting cache. Or even something that's not a traditional cache, and something even like this shoe, and placing a micro in the heel, now you've got a very unusual cache. This was actually my next progression of how I place my caches. Started with ammo cans. We talked about Tupperware. We talked about how I use micros and attached them to larger hosts. But I found that my interest really went to building unusual and unique caches. So that's why I shot this here in my cache shop today. And so what I'm going to do over the next several videos is each one I'm going to highlight a different gadget cache. Some of the gadget caches you don't need anything. You can just arrive, and when you get there, all you have to do is figure out, what do I got to do to find this log? And you might have to push something, or pull something, or slide something. One of the caches you got to push, pull, slide, all at the same time to be able to find the log. One of the caches you actually have to take the battery maybe out of your GPS, or take along a AA battery with you for the cache to present itself. One, you probably are going to have to take a friend with you because it's going to use centrifugal force, and it's going to take two of you to be able to find the cache. We're going to show you a video where you have to take an air pump along with you. And you're going to use an air pump before you're going to be able to find the cache. One of them, you're going to need a pair of these. You're going to need to be a well-prepared motorist to be able to find the cache. And another one of the caches that I'm going to show you, the cache is actually going to give you a balloon. And you're going to have to use the balloon to be able to find the cache. So I hope you can join us over the next several videos and figure out what you can do to build a gadget cache to use one of these to be able to find your lost.